Continuing our series on interviewing logistics leaders in the industry. Today we have Carl Wasinger from Smart Warehousing. So, Carl, how are you doing
Doing
today?
great. Doing great. It's Friday, so that's always we made it to the week.
Yeah, can't beat that. Hopefully, you have big weekend plans. It's the Super Bowl weekend. So, do you have any picks for us? I guess to start off with.
Well, I don't. We're from Kansas City, so we're nobody knows how to act right now since we're not. Kansas City didn't make it. So
Awesome. Well, as we say in Cleveland, there's always
yeah,
next year. So
that's right.
we'll get right into it. So tell me the story behind smart warehousing. What sparked the idea and led you guys to where you are today?
Sure. You're happy to do it. I mean, I don't know if it's the most glamorous story in the world. Really back in business school, in the 80s, there was this huge, everyone wanted to outsource to overseas manufacturing. And when we knew that all that product was going to come back and have to get unloaded and inventoried and taken care of. And so that was sort of the really early stage idea in how to help brands and get into supply chain, just all that kind of stuff. The tech piece happened to be the same part, right? Online banking was happening. And I felt like if we could do something with inventory and create visibility and information around inventory like banks were doing for their clients, that could be a really, really interesting, value added service to go out and offer. So really that's what happened in the late 90s. I started working on that and founded the company in 2001 and really started showing off the technology. This is what we kind of call the smart platform. It's made up of a lot of pieces and parts of our tech, and people liked it. And they said, well, we like the tech. We're going to use it. It's something that's going to be super helpful, but also do the work. Then we added the business service side, the actual operational side to the business, and just kind of continued to expand from there. And started here in Kansas City, small little operation, fulfillment work, a book company and a furniture company. And then just one thing led to another and word of mouth, and got a little traction. And we continued, went from 4 or 5,000 square feet to 15 and continued to grow and expand. And a lot of times clients need you in other places around the country. So then we started expanding through other parts we went to the West Coast, then we went to the East Coast. And today I think we have almost 40 different warehouse facilities, distribution facilities out there between 11 and 12 million square feet. And we service probably 1,000 different active inventories for 600, 700 different brands and companies that we support, and kind of really exciting stuff that's going on at Smart Warehousing.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you had the tech stuff before it was even a big thing. And that's huge right now. That leads me to the next question of like, there's the competitive landscape. 3PLs are ultra popular brands. The CPG space seems to be exploding. So what makes smart warehousing truly unique from all of the other players out there as more 3PLs pop up every single day?
I think it goes back to kind of the philosophy around aligning the tech with the characteristics of the business, the brand's business. And they're all different. They're all unique. They all have certain characteristics that make them different. And that's probably why a lot of these brands are successful and growing, because they have some different pieces and parts to their business. And because our tech is customizable, it's proprietary, we built it knowing that we were going to have to customize it and align it to all these different aspects of a brand's needs. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we do. We really align our technology platform to exactly what they need us to do on the physical and the warehouse and the network side. And when we get that right and that works really well, then boy, the flow and the logistics of their business, that supply chain really runs well. It's super efficient. And so I think that's kind of one of our superpowers, is really that alignment between the tech and being able to organize the tech in a way that fits that brand perfectly, versus some of our competition that they sort of have handcuffs on. They have to work within a system maybe that they don't have the source code on, so they can't really customize it. And we can, and that's been a huge benefit for us.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking to something that a lot of brands are looking for. As a 3PL, you're sort of operating on behalf of the business, which means you're essentially tied to them very closely and you have to fit their needs. The WMS system, as you said, can be very just boxed in. It doesn't really have all the features that you would want, although it has some of the features that you may want. So if you could expand on some of the features that brands can get with your system, maybe beyond just inventory visibility and order tracking notifications. I think that would be awesome to showcase here because the system is so robust.
Well, when we think about the smart platform, we kind of had to build it and design it over the years for really two audiences. You have the brand side that needs to know statuses and information and real-time updates on, what's happening with this inbound, and what's happening with this outbound, and did this, retail compliance order happen the right way, and all that plumbing that has to happen, and data work that has to happen for the brand to run their business, the insights around their sales channel. But then there's another side of an operating system that's as important, and it's sort of the operational side of our platform. And the operational side of the platform allows for the warehouses to perform at the levels they need to and maintain the scalability and the quality and the flow of product. And so we're multi-client. A lot of our buildings have more than one, sometimes, 10, 20, 30, 50 different clients in a facility, in a distribution center with these different characteristics of inventory. And so the system has to help the operators and the folks doing that work to make sure that it's all designed and they get the information to the floor right when they need it. So they know how to label orders, they know how to fulfill orders, they know how to receive, they know how to palletize, all the different things that happen in these fulfillment centers. It's really kind of this two-part system. And we're 25 years old this year, smart warehousing, since we started. And so we've got 8,000 solutions baked into this platform. It just continues to get smarter and smarter and smarter as we add more and more stuff to it. And it just allows those operators to be, the ultimate idea is a customized solution at scale to be able to do that. And that's super hard to do. But because we have so many solutions in there, we're able to really emphasize that unique experience for a client or for a brand. Well, then it doesn't mess up our flow at our warehouses, and we don't mess it all up.
I think you're hitting on a point here. I mean, tech stacks, especially in warehousing, can make or break your company, not only on the 3PL side, but also on the brand side. If you're not getting those orders out, if you're not meeting SLAs or compliance regulation, it's make or break for your business. And you had also mentioned you guys are 25 years old today. Congrats on that achievement. I mean, that's a long time to be in the industry. You've seen a lot. So what are the most common pain points you see businesses struggling with before they partner with a logistics company like yours?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that I think a lot of brands, they fall into this trap of, it's just a commodity service. It should be super easy. It's one of probably the easiest things to whiteboard, put up on a whiteboard, circle, arrow. It makes total sense until you have to actually make it come to life on the warehouse floor. And it can be really complicated. And the complexity of the business is all getting pushed into this warehouse world or the distribution fulfillment world. So the brands, they're going to go sell their products to retailers or wherever they sell them. And all these rules and all this compliance exists to make all that stuff happen. And the brands aren't, for them, that's not a concern. They want to hire somebody to do that work. And the retailers don't want to do anything more than they have to. So they push. So we're sort of caught in this middle of all this complexity to perform around an inventory to go out to the right customer, right time, right label, right packing list, right everything, and the right timing. And so I think a lot of times what we coach is hey, there's a lot more going on behind the dock doors than you might really realize. And so we try to accentuate a little bit around the complexities of today's modern fulfillment centers. There's, so many platforms. There's so much retail compliance. Some of the retail compliance manuals are hundreds of pages long, and you have to know exactly what to do with every order to every one of their distribution. Otherwise, there's economic, penalties. And so the last thing we want to do is, cost them money and get in trouble for doing something wrong. Again, we try to coach a little bit with some of that, explaining to sometimes people that don't think about all that every day, how complex it really is. And we try to make it look as simple and as easy as possible, but there's a lot to it if you don't really know how all that stuff works.
I think you hit the nail on the head here. A lot of people, I feel like, think it's just slapping a tracking label on a box. And you hit on a lot of great points because I have seen those manuals in person and they are indeed 100 pages. And you have to have someone on your team that is capable enough to go through that, understand it, and then apply it to that specific brand's needs. And I think a lot of warehouses get caught off guard by some of these compliance and regulatory things, especially as they move into retail. And that is a growth channel for brands, and if you don't nail that, you're not going to get into those retail stores. You're not going to be compliant, and ultimately your brand could fail. And so I want to get into a little bit about growth enablement for brands. And how can logistics partners act as actually a growth catalyst beyond, hey, I'm not just fulfilling your orders, but I can also help you grow? What sort of catalysts do you do in smart warehousing that can actually help those brands grow to the next level?
So there's sort of maybe a traditional inventory management, carrying costs, network optimization. There's a bunch of schooling, theory, philosophy around how to organize inventories so that they're in the right place for the right time, for the right orders, and the flowing of that inventory to the final destination. And so we do spend a lot of time on that kind of work. And we have examples out there where we've helped clients look at their inventory levels and how they do their replenishment from their factories or from their co-packers or from, even overseas, how long does it take to get here? How much do you usually order? And then look at those inventory levels and assess whether or not you need to carry as many of those items that you do carry. And then what does that cost? And I think last year was either in 25 or 24, the last numbers I saw, one of the research, that there was over $2 trillion in carrying costs just in the US. So that's inventory sitting somewhere that didn't get sold, that didn't get turned into cash, that somebody has on their balance sheet, and these brands carry a lot of inventory. And so we want to do two things. We want to help them leverage that inventory across every sales channel they can think of and put our platform in there so that we can support that. And the second piece is really helping them think about what inventory, what items, is it turning, is it not turning? Do you really need 10 when you can get by with 3 as the safety stock levels, and just sort of that sequencing. And there's a lot of work that we're doing today, building out some chatbot that's sort of turning into this agentic assistant named Bonnie. And so Bonnie's starting to look at these inventories, and she's helping us and she's helping our customers. Hey, why do you have so many, apples? And then, you don't need this many apples. You only sell this many every month, and every apple costs something. If we can help them shrink that down, that's a big savings. And it's kind of the boogeyman out there in the industry that doesn't really get worked on very much, is that just inventory optimization. And so I think that's going to be super beneficial in the future. And the second thing that we're starting to see happen today is that the brands are, it's like, okay, everyone kind of provides this service, and everyone has some visibility, and everyone does, tapes boxes together and puts labels on. So what's the next thing? We haven't named it. We don't even, but we're getting asked this question a lot. And we have a lot of these, just like this super 3PL that can also offer a technology platform that the brands can take to wherever they need them to be, and support, not just support physical fulfillment in a warehouse that they might operate themselves, but help them support operations anywhere. And that's really compelling. And we're testing that today, and we're doing some of that work right now. We've had clients that it's really kind of an exciting sort of next step in the industry. I think where tech now is going to be one of the superpowers that the 3PLs have, because they could help the brands in their own space. They could help their brands in any space.
It's great. I mean, just all of the tech talk, it's all of the rage right now. And it seems that you guys are building it in the warehousing space, which is typically an older industry. There's a lot of old systems out there, and it seems like you've just been one step ahead the whole time. And I would love to hear a story, if you could walk us through just a success story about how you helped a client overcome some major fulfillment challenge or achieve significant growth, or help them using your tech-enabled tool stack.
Probably examples in kind of all the different channels. I mean, there's some of the easy ones to where we helped with overflow, or we helped with some network, put inventory closer to their customers. In the food, frozen, cold chain world, that's an area that's growing like crazy for smart warehousing. And so the technology around being able to look at their inventories, place the products closer to the end users, do the optimization work so that orders come from those close fulfillment centers, those fulfillment centers that are in the regions that where the final mile happens. Reduce cost. You don't need as much coolant in those boxes. You can less dry ice, less gel packs, and everything still arrives, at the right temperature. And so those are some of the easy things that we can see and how we're helping clients today. So they're expanding. I mean, the numbers of, tens of thousands of order growth in that food. There's just a lot of adoption in that world right now that we're seeing, and it's really exciting. And we think we do it better than anybody. So that's pretty exciting for what we're doing. The other piece is really around visibility. Right. We've got tools bringing insights, and it's always been one of my pet peeves of showing off technology in the supply chain world. I think because it's really hard to visualize what's happening by. I mean, all the dots and dashes and all this, code and all this, linear algebra and all the constraints, and you're doing all this optimization, but it's almost impossible to see. But now we have some visibility tools that are sort of bringing that to life for our clients and our customers and brands. I think they're making decisions about their businesses today that they couldn't make before. And so we're constantly hearing about this has given us insights. This is giving us, we're making better decisions. We're thinking about our supply chains better. And so I think it's a combination of the network optimization piece and really looking at that part, because the consumer behaviors have changed and they need, they want stuff next day and same day. And there's just an appetite for speed that then now for the brands, they need some data, they need some help just understanding what all that looks like. And I think some of that visibility in the modern, you just couldn't do it before in anything meaningful in real time. And today we can, and it's having some really big impacts for our clients. And we've got this one piece that we've just launched, and it's sort of this final mile. And it's, it kind of works like these, best way I can explain it is it's sort of this eruption that kind of looks like FlightAware. You go follow your airplane going across the country, but you can follow these packages going across the country and know exactly which ones arrived on time and which ones didn't. And just makes that super simple for our clients.
Yeah, and I would agree that is a pain point of a lot of brands, because a lot of times they don't have visibility or that detail of visibility without going into a separate system. And I think that just speaks to how tech enabled you are. You brought up linear algebra, and that made me shudder a little bit. And that's why I'm glad there's people like you guys who are doing it, so people like us don't have to do it.
I feel sorry for some of those industrial engineers that work here that all those operational research classes in college we're leaning on them pretty hard. They make that system really smart. It's amazing.
Yeah, that is great. And I'm glad that I don't have to take part in that side. And, sort of moving on to the next thing and wrapping up here, I would love to hear about who your ideal client is and what specific types of businesses or challenges you excel at handling, because obviously you have this tech-enabled system, but you also have multiple warehouses all across the United States. You're doing cold storage, refrigerated storage. You can really do it all. So who is that ideal customer that might want to reach out to you, and what types of challenges do you excel at handling?
The kind of complex, when they have, some complex supply chain, we can definitely meet them where they are. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be a great big company or, Fortune 500. I mean, we work with smaller, we work with medium size, we work with some of the large brands out there as well. And we try to meet them where they are, and we try to help them leverage that inventory. I mean, again, if you don't have to keep inventory in multiple facilities or in multiple different fulfillment companies because somebody can ship into all those different channels, it creates some efficiencies and it allows that inventory to get used in a better way. So we think about the clients that need help to get to their customers across the country, because we do have that network. It took 20 years to get that network built out, but now we can, with all those different facilities, we can support that last mile and that quick delivery like everyone likes. Seller Fulfill Prime. There's stuff in the TikTok worlds now and Shopify, all those different plugins that we've built and maintain and help our clients with. Those are really important kind of profile or customer profile, resonate well for Smart. And then we have that DNA and that workforce that understands the flow and the retail compliance and bring that information to the floor so that we can support it. So we kind of like the complex and the fast and the volume, and we lean on the tech a lot to help make that look easy. It's not, but we think we can make it look pretty easy with the way our smart platform gets integrated into their worlds. But yeah, it's a pretty big range. Greg, we like to help lots of customers. We like to meet them where they are. And we've seen little customers that start off with one or two little things and they just, they blow up and, they're on Good Morning America one day or something. And then all of a sudden they're doing thousands of orders. We can pivot, we're agile, and we're super quick turn on. We need inventory in 5 places instead of 2, and we can make that happen.
That's awesome. And thanks for the time, Carl. As we wrap up here, we can see smart warehousing can support all different types of brands across the United States, whether you're a CPG brand or you need climate control. Smart warehousing is there. They're a mature, tech-enabled 3PL. So thanks again, Carl. We'll let you get to your weekend here.
Great talking to you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Bye.